Good race beginning to all our listeners on tonight's or tomorrow or yesterday's episode of Deep Space and Dragons. I am Richard, the human embodiment of the Bullet Bill power-up.
And I am Karl, the human embodiment of pressing the A button at the right time to get boost right at the start of the race. Gotta go fast.
Excellent. And on this week's episode of Deep Space and Dragons, we're going to go into the Mario Athletic Cinematic Universe of games. But first, a word from our sponsors. What's new in the Karlverse?
Oh, well, my girlfriend is a union steward at her job. But
pause. Am I about to go to, am I liable for something based on this story? Will this incriminate me?
No. There's no worries. It's a completely benign story.
All right, I just need this recorded in video. We're good. Continue.
But I didn't actually ask her when she got to be a union steward, but I think it might have been during the dark ages of COVID.
Oh, I assumed it was when they got the fire, water, heart, and wind to unite. Anyway, continue. She doesn't actually know what she's supposed to do as a union steward. And so now that restrictions on travel have eased up a bit, they paid for her to go to a seminar in Toronto, actually, about how to be a union steward. So I need to clean off my cot when you come visit? Is that what I'm hearing?
No. She left today. That what's new with me is I dropped her off at the airport today.
Man, the story is so much more disappointing this way than. So what's new is I'm coming Tuesday.
Yeah, that would have been pretty exciting. But no, I haven't made any plans specifically to travel. Maybe in August, because I happen to have 3 pay periods in August. I just like to travel when I have 3 pay periods in a month. To any of our listeners, it seems financially savvy. If you have an extra pay period, then that would be the month to travel.
Yeah, well, for a little bit about my summer availability. So now that my summertime hours are going, I just don't work Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, which is just delightful.
Right.
And so for what's new with me is I've been writing my book and working and forcing myself to see the sun to balance out these two things. Because that has been my entire life lately, and it's been lovely. You have any idea how nice it is to be able to write in peace?
Random fun fact time. They say that you get vitamin D from the sun. Apparently, when the UV rays hit your skin, they convert cholesterol into vitamin D. I don't know if that's good cholesterol or bad cholesterol, but that's how you get vitamin D from sunlight. I thought those.
Note: we are not doctors on this show, and do not take our medical advice as facts. Just to be clear, I do take vitamin D. Have been taking vitamin D supplements over the harsh Canadian winter.
Well,
which ended last week.
I suppose that could just be one of those things where everybody knows vitamin D is the sun is a great source of vitamin D. But I was curious about how sunlight, which as far as I know is just energy, could impart amino acids or minerals or whatever.
You know what is absolutely crazy
is.
about this? Is I'm helping one of my professors work on their new textbook over the summer, which will answer this exact question when it goes on sale. Because he's doing a elective course specifically about common nutrition and health things that they just don't teach you.
Right.
And this seems like it'd be completely up your alley, but I can't actually speak much on it. Or even know really what I'm doing to help at this point. But I just thought it was fascinating that by the end of the summer I'll have a book recommendation for you with my name in it somewhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's also something that's somewhat new with you is that you've been leased out to edit a book, right?
It's pretty fantastic. We're still trying to even figure out what the course is going to be named, because originally his was Vectors of Disease Progression. And in our conversation, we need to make it catchier and more clickbaity to trick the common student into learning biology. I kind of like Pathway to Disease or Death Clock, How Many Days Do You Have to Live? But I might be leaning a little too hard into the theatrics.
Quite possibly. Especially if they never actually learn what their death clock is.
No, we were actually discussing the feasibility of that as an assignment where you literally can map your current lifestyle and your expected lifespan and then increase or decrease it in days. The idea of that as a term project was discussed.
Well, I mean, I think this has come up in
I don't know if we recorded in the podcast or if it was just in a private conversation.
We have private conversations now? I assumed we had groupies, but go ahead.
Well, I remember we were talking about how the Daily Mail from the UK ran a study about foods that are bad for you and how hot dogs decrease your lifespan by
yes,
like
yes.
7
This was when we were
days
discussing whether or
dog.
not putting a hinge on the bread somehow made it no longer a sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
I was very clear that I'm not going to remove hot dogs from my diet so I can get from 92 to 93. Although my life's been pretty good lately. So now my new life expectancy goal is 120.
120? That's pretty good.
I'm better on medical science, but please continue.
Well, I was just going to say, one of the ways to extend your lifespan is to exercise and play sports like Mario and his compatriots.
Oh man, I was going to do that segue. I got segue sniped. Alright, so let's start off with the first Mario sports game that comes to my mind. NES Hockey.
Wait, is that actually a Mario sports? I guess so.
Alright, so I'm pulling up Wikipedia's list of Mario sports. Alright? So apparently, no, it does not count.
Yeah, but ice hockey for the NES is my personal favorite hockey game.
Right?
I mean, the sports games on the NES in general are pretty great, like NES World Cup.
Well, NES Mario Golf definitely counts, because I have my list of all the Mario sports game. And NES Open Tournament Golf was called in Japan Mario Open Golf, therefore counts as a Mario sports game.
Wow, I mean, I didn't know that. Never really being a big fan of the golf games. I mean,
I will say though, since we're doing this in no particular structure, they did decide to give an RPG mode to Mario Golf for the GBA, I believe it was, or the Game Boy Color, and it was surprisingly good.
Okay, since you have the Wikipedia open, did Camelot Games has always done Mario Golf, or?
Let's see. No, they took over at the N64. They did not make the one on the NES or the Famicom.
Huh. And then they just didn't release a Mario Golf for Super Nintendo.
Yes, because I guess Super Nintendo didn't have golf technology, except for Kirby Golf, which, if you ever want to watch missed any of our Twitch streams, there's a beautiful Kirby Golf segment on YouTube now, under Deep Space and Dragons. Is where the top 10 anime betrayal of all time happens. But to focus back on topic, so if we're going super early, NES sports games are fantastic and somehow weirdly absent from the Switch's Virtual Console, or we just haven't thought to play them.
No, they're weirdly absent. Well, no, ice hockey is on the Virtual Console. NES World Cup is not. I believe they have some sort of Super Smash Tennis, but the Game Boy Color had an excellent Mario Tennis game, which made good use of the two buttons. Somehow the NES couldn't pull it off.
So now that we're on the topic of Mario Tennis, so apparently there was a Mario Tennis for the Virtual Boy. I just feel the need to share that information. Neither of us will have been expected to play a Virtual Boy, nor should anybody. But
they seem like that'd be a very painful way to play tennis.
Yeah, I think actual tennis is less difficult on you. On a different What's New in the Richard verse update, I got new glasses and I haven't updated my prescription in 6 years, so it's like I put an HD filter on Life. And I've just been kind of tripping out on that for a bit. Just Life got an HD texture pack, I can see the individual blades of grass again. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like I need to get glasses, but I just don't have student benefits to exploit. But yes, so for Mario Tennis, 64 Mario Tennis, I actually played a lot of with my dad back in my pre-tragic youth.
Mm-hmm.
So Mario Tennis, 2-player co-op, it's tennis, kind of a perfect game to exist.
Well, okay, so the reason I was asking about Camelot Games actually is because the Mario Tennis for the Game Boy Color was developed by Camelot Games, and they also had an RPG mode in that game. And it was actually, the campaign mode was mostly this RPG where you could go around, you could train, you could challenge matches to move up the ranks and to go enter tournaments. And then once you get to the highest level in the campaign, then you go to the Mushroom Kingdom and play against the Mario characters.
Yeah. So as I'm looking at this tennis list, for example, It seems both the Game Boy release and the GBA release both had the full story modes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
the RPG mode for me personally set those ones apart from the N64, because the N64 just focused more on the fact that it was 4 players.
Oh yeah, and like
to play together.
The GameCube one wasn't really a drastic improvement, to be completely honest.
Mm-hmm.
And the Nintendo Switch one didn't quite grasp me. It got close, but I did not quite feel like it justified the full $80. Like, I feel like Mario sports games, now up for $80, I should get tennis, soccer, and basketball.
Well,
Like-
okay, so the Mario Tennis Superstar Aces, I think it is what it is.
It's Mario Tennis
maybe.
Aces, but I enjoy the Superstar just being added in there, so I'll allow it to stay.
They teased me so hard because they said there was an RPG mode. And there is...
Asterix. I heard the asterisks.
Yeah. But you don't actually improve your character. Your character just improves as they level up, however the game decides they should. And your gear doesn't matter. And there are training modes, but like it's just it was very lackluster compared to what was quite excellent for the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance.
However, if any Nintendo executives are listening to this, and we know they are because they're giving us SD Gundam, and they announced, I saw somewhere a Dokapon remakes in the works, so we are being spied on by Nintendo in our podcasts. We do not want you to just take the Game Boy Color game and give it an HD remaster like Link's Awakening and charge $80. We want a new campaign in our tennis. Nintendo execs that are listening to our podcast.
Yeah, that would definitely... I mean, I don't know...
We also got a Lucifer the Biscuit Camera anime, which was clearly done by us, because that got announced a week after our episode, because we're just awesome. Or our listeners are awesome.
Oh, yeah, maybe they're feeding it up the command chain.
Oh yeah, we don't have power, but our listeners might be like movers and shakers of the world. But yes. So, go ahead.
Mario Tennis, definitely one of my favorite pieces of the Mario sports franchise history.
Alright, so let's pivot into golf. Did you end up getting Mario Golf Super Rush? Because the trailer really tempted me, but we were in the middle of the apocalypse, and I just didn't have 4 friends for golf. Because their big update was you can play golf simultaneously, which sounded like it fixed golf.
So, I mean, I did not get golf because...
It's golf?
Well, not only is it golf, but for some reason in my mind, they were released relatively close together with Mario Tennis, and so I got tennis over golf.
That is reasonable. Because, yeah, Mario Golf Super Rush looked good. It had, like, a decent DLC, but it announced a story mode, and much like your experience with tennis, I had a word for it. I'm trying to think of the one that doesn't contain swear words, but it's when you put exactly enough screenshots in your trailer to make it look like there's more game than there is. Like, you show a dungeon, so you think there'll be dungeons, and then it turns out, no, there was a dungeon. And
Right.
Nintendo are the kings of this. Like in Pokemon Arceus, for example, they showed you a dungeon, so you thought, oh, all the legendary Pokemon will have dungeons. No, there was just a dungeon singular. So Mario Golf's like, yeah, we have boss battles and arenas in Simo Golf. It's true, they had a boss battle, a arena, a Simo Golf, but it was like what they showed you in the trailer was literally all you got. Which I think part of the problem is caused by Skyrim, Assassin's Creed, and No Man's Sky having games that are like, oh yeah, we have the technology to put an entire galaxy in your game, like you can literally just fly into space and then launch a planet into the sun. We have that processing power. Enjoy your 7 golf courses. Nintendo just isn't really quite up in their game with some of these safer releases.
Yeah, I would say that seems fair. I mean, like I said, technically speaking, I would say that like Tennis Aces was a huge improvement over the previous iteration of tennis, and the Mario Golf also seems like it has vastly improved, aside from the fact that the RPG modes were just kind of sick. Because the RPG mode on the Game Boy Color version of Game Boy Golf was similarly excellent to the tennis RPG version.
Alright. And to move along, Next we go to Mario Strikers, which has only had 3. So that new trailer looks sick when they're like, oh yeah, 2 of you can play online from one console, 8-player multiplayer. You can tackle your friends into your other friends. And what's interesting is they've only done Mario Strikers 3 times, which is profound self-control for Nintendo. They did original one for GameCube, one with motion controls added to it for Wii, and then the Switch one coming out. And I'm like, yeah. So one of my favorite soccer games ever made was Mega Man Soccer, because you defeated the enemy team and got to add one of their robots to your team Mega Man style.
Yeah, okay.
And then each unit has its own like special stats going on. But when they're like, we added full custom robo mechanics to your Mario Soccer, where like choose your head, core, arms, and legs. I'm like, wait, you added custom robo elements to this? Yeah, I'm on board. Let's do it.
Yeah, I definitely think like Mario Strikers was definitely a lot of fun.
It was like the Smash Bro of soccer.
Because it just lets you get together with 4 people and have fun playing soccer.
And I think the thing about it versus other sports games too is because soccer, as like a viewer, you're fundamentally watching it top down. You got very clean camera angles, where golf suffers a bit from being turn-based because of the nature of golf, and tennis is only a 2-on-2 game. Soccer feels much more that Smash Bros. Effect of unhinged chaos, because even though you have teams, you could actually play 4 players on the same team.
Right.
Which causes the Dokapon effect of, the best way to destroy friendships is to try and force you all to work together against a common enemy, but grant you the potential to stab each other in the back.
The Mario Strikers for the Wii wasn't much of a substantial improvement because it was all about the motion controls.
Yep. Alright, on to the next one.
Oh yeah, okay.
Mario Baseball for GameCube, which was actually really good.
You know, I've heard lots of rave reviews about it. My girlfriend, when she moved in, she actually brought a GameCube. So maybe I'll have to try and like find it, because I feel like that's right up my roommate's alleys, and you're giving a rave review.
Yeah, but this was back when me and my brother were locked in exile in northern Saskatchewan with no internet connection. It was one of the games we had, which will instantly make any game better. You know, because it's that or Dysentery.
Did you not have it when you moved to central Saskatchewan?
I don't know. I feel like it was just in a tote bin somewhere.
Yeah, probably. Because at that point the Wii had come out, so.
But like, I had some core GameCube games, and if they were to release a GameCube Mini that specifically touched on some of my core GameCube friends, Nintendo would get my money. But yeah, what was cool though is definitely defeating teams in the Mario Baseball actually unlocked characters.
Yeah, okay.
Alright. So, next let's talk about the Mario and Sonic Olympic series, and we're skipping that. We're just burning that in a bin. That is not our problem.
Not a fan of the Olympic Games?
They're just not, like... No. Just no. Like, it sounds great in concept, but first off, you know what's breaking the lore? Having the 500-meter dash consist of Sonic versus Mario. And then it was pure motion controls. Like, you motion controlled. It was a motion controlled motion controller.
Yeah, okay. So I will say Mario vs. Sonic has never really intrigued me that much, because there's just not really that much overlap between the two. They're very different styles of games in the first place. And then, like you say, the powers of Sonic versus the powers of Mario, it's like Sonic will crush him at the dash, Mario will crush him at high jump.
No, Sonic jumps higher too.
What?
Yeah, basic logistics. If you're moving at the speed of sound and jump, who's jumping higher with the leg strength to move at the speed of sound versus the overweight mechanic? Mario, however, is far more educated than Sonic with several doctorates.
Well, you do know that Mario is literally called Jumpman. Like, is Sonic just stealing everything from Mario?
Yeah, that was the entire point of Sonic, was to steal everything from Mario. That was what he was created to do.
He's like the Hawkeye to the Green Arrow?
Pretty much, yeah. Like I'd even go further where it's like, yeah, we have Superman, cool. I'm going to make Omni-Man, the evil Superman. Ooh, edgy, aren't we? Someone's feeling feisty today. Alright, so now that we've done a couple of the sports games, so there's the Mario Sports Mix for the Wii, which had some interesting mini-ish games in it. And I'm not going so much into the Wii Sports and things, because even though they were Mario themed, they weren't really Mario games. And there's also the Mario Sports Superstars for 3DS.
The Mario Sports Superstars. That's the one that had the basketball game, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
the
it had Mario Hoops in it.
Was awesome.
Yeah. Also, just in this list, Dance Dance Revolution Mario mix stuck in there, and I'm like, that's fair.
Oh man, that makes me want to get one of those DDR pads for an Xbox or something, and just like play DDR in my house.
I will say the Super Mario Party, despite having some regressive in some areas, also had some great fun times in other areas. Like they had effectively a dance party mode in that.
Oh yeah,
that was
the dance
awesome.
party mode is actually pretty good. Yeah,
and he used the best kind of motion controls where you weren't actually trying to do anything with them; you're just bapping them at the right time. Because when motion controls try and be precise, they implode. But now we pivot into the best Mario sports game, Super Mario Kart. So, interestingly, I wasn't that old when we had a Super Nintendo, and we got a Nintendo 64 pretty early on. So I actually didn't play that much Super Mario Kart.
I'm pretty sure, maybe I'm wrong, but I think the N64 came out in no, it can't have come out in 1990, but it's older than you think.
1999.
1999 is when they came out.
Or when Mario Golf came out for it, but I'm pretty sure that's one of the earlier games.
In any event, Mario Kart 64 is actually also one of the few N64 games, which, I mean, compared to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I guess, because that's just the best iteration of the game so far, it didn't age well, but compared to a lot of the other titles for the N64, the Mario Kart 64 is
playable.
Definitely one of the top tier titles.
Like you could actually play it and have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about Mario Kart is because the concept is so simple, if a Mario Kart game came out that was worse than the previous one, they should really fire everyone who touched that project and throw them into the sun. Because, it is, you race in Mario Karts. That's it. That was your only thing you had to do. Double Dash tried something weird and they never stuck because okay, co-op, tagging, leaning, racing. It was interesting. Trying to actually play co-op Double Dash was a fascinating experience.
I personally loved it, whereas every now and then you'd be like, okay, we gotta switch out because you have the item, and then they have to use the item, and the other person has to drive for a little bit.
What's kind of crazy about it is I feel like it was released for the wrong console in a weird way. So, putting it on the GameCube makes no sense for it to be a co-op system because you can only have 4 players, right? So you could have two teams of 2, and that's about it. On the Switch, that would be a fantastic function, because then you'd have one screen, 2 players, each with half of your Joy-Con. The Double Dash mechanic would work better on the Switch than it did on the GameCube.
Well, it's possible that's the twist they're going to add to Mario Kart 9, because Mario Kart 9 is confirmed to be in active development, and they're just tying us over with a pretty absurd amount of DLC.
Oh, the DLC tracks are great because they're just more tracks for an already good game. But I will say, Mario Kart 8 does have one weird flaw, and I say flaw with 70 asterisks.
Okay.
So as I mentioned earlier, one of my favorite GameCube games is Custom Robo.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got full customization of your units, but you did it in a very clean, efficient manner. Because a lot of times if a game has unit customization or equipment, you have to almost load it on your own time. A lot of games of that era, you would plug in a memory card and load your character from it effectively.
Right.
So, that's a double-edged sword, though. Because in Mario Kart, the average person isn't playing enough to actually know what the stats feel like or mean. So people will make a kart, and 90% of Mario Kart combinations are worse than just picking standard kart. You're I'm going to build a dune buggy of dune buggy wheels. You're just sabotaging yourself for no reason.
Right.
So it's by giving players that freedom for a game they play casually, it actually just makes the better players even further ahead. Where when we go back a generation or two, before they had the customization, and everyone was just given it, you're just picking a character, it didn't have the same skill gap. So that's what's kind of weird to me, because it's such a casual game, where it's you almost have RPG elements and customization, but there's nowhere really to use them except for bullying your friends.
Tangentially,
Super Smash Bros. Has a very similar problem where the
Spirits.
the spirits boards and the custom movesets for the Wii U. It's like it's what the fans wanted, but it's too much customization for the average casual player, and so like you can only really use it against more hardcore players. Which in my case, that's just I don't have that many hardcore Smash Bros. Fans that would be able to use custom movesets or the spirits, or it's like they add some really cool mechanics, but.
And yeah, like to directly follow up on that, for Smash Bros. For Wii U, it's obvious where they dropped the ball. Is they're like, okay, we're going to have custom moves, customization, and not put an RPG element into this game in any way, shape, or form. It wasn't as bad in Smash Ultimate because you had the Smash World board, where if you're fighting specific challenges, you could customize your character to fight them. But they did add arbitrary leveling, because there was already like enough combinations and things that you didn't need some of these extra features. Like the game simply wasn't difficult enough to justify min-maxing your character. And these will never be used with your friends, because there's no reason to add that much more chaos and unbalance to Smash Bros.
Yeah.
And that's where my
which then comes back to Mario Kart 8, where like, especially seeing as like if you're really into the meta of Mario Kart 8, the most important stat is a hidden stat that they don't show you on the board.
That's pretty peak Nintendo design, to be honest. And the thing is, what would
Well, just so if our viewers are interested, the most important stat in Mario Kart 8 is mini turbo. Because if you have high mini turbo, your turbo boost can go from like half a second to an entire second. Like there's literally 100% increase in boost if you choose the right cart and wheels.
But what's funny is when I play Mario Kart with you, my skill level increases drastically if I just give up on using a cart. If I just pick standard cart, standard wheel, standard glider, and focus on actually driving, I can learn the courses. But you have to relearn the track for every cart.
Because some of the carts drift differently, and it's like as the games get more complex and they add more and more things to the roster, it's like they have to get more complex in order to differentiate themselves from the previous iterations, but then they lose out on some of that simplicity that allows the casual gamers to actually jump in and start playing.
Well, what's interesting is the solution to these Mario Sports games, and this has come up a fair number of times in our episode this week, is the one-player RPG, or even better, the 1 to 4-player cooperative RPG for these features. So Mario Kart's one-player mode was literally play the tracks in sequence.
Right.
But if we go to some other racing games like Gran Turismo as far back as the PS2, it would be different types of races, different modes. Between races, you'd have to repair your karts, buy new ones, buy new equipment. And in a game like Mario Kart, instead of these equipments being unlocked for versus mode and everyone just getting them, a one-player RPG where you would specifically do specific things to earn currency to buy karts and upgrades, you could actually add a very good campaign mode to Mario Kart. Give it a plot, literally have like Mario get booed off the stage by Bowser in a tank as your goal is to rebuild your kart to beat him to the moon or whatever plot you come up with.
Well, I mean, as long as they don't go lazy like they did for Mario Tennis Aces, because it's just the story mode was so you're going for these power orbs, and they literally do not show you what these power orbs look like. They show you a treasure chest, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, good job, you got the power orb." Is the orb literally the chest? Like what? What's even? I have PTSD from that RPG mode. I was so disappointed.
But I will say that RPG mode's still better than what was in Mario Kart.
It is still better than what was in Mario Kart.
Because Mario Kart was literally, hey, you know in the 64 where you just play through each course and beat it? Yeah, that. You can do that. And I'm like,
you know, they have staff ghosts and time trials.
And part of why I throw shade at that is, at the same time as Mario Kart, Diddy Kong Racing came out. And Diddy Kong Racing had an overworld map, you drove into dungeons for things, you fought bosses, there's hidden keys on tracks. Like, it was a full campaign on the Nintendo 64 a decade ago. And it's like, yeah, we don't want to learn anything from this. Because Diddy Kong Racing had a way better one-player mode.
That was back when Rare was not. Rare's actually defunct, aren't they?
At some point, Microsoft ate them.
Yeah.
But yeah, part of why I bring that up is a lot of these sports games could just be elevated when they remember that the idea is for a group of friends to play together and have fun. And the best way to do that is to give you accomplishment, progression, and the power of teamwork and friendship, and the ability to stab each other in the back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to the Mario Strikers for the Switch, because that just looks like it's going to be awesome.
And with that, let's wrap up this week's podcast with a special shout-out to my novel, The Waltz of Blades Deluxe, with beautiful new cover art by A.G. Nosach, available on my Amazon page. You should buy my book. Every book that's sold increases the odds of me being able to play Mario Circle with Karl. I know that's not a holistic goal, or it's literally just me pandering to people to personally give me money to play video games, but I hope my honesty will move a couple copies.
I kind of hope his honesty will move a couple of copies too, because I would love to play new Mario sports games and review them for you, our audience.
We suck. We didn't even give a review system. Here we are pitching for money. We didn't even say 5 power stars out of 10 or anything and rate these. But with that, thank you for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on Twitch as we start streaming through random games. Literally random. We did a fantastic episode where we went through the trolley problem recently. And then we did some super mecha fighting. Won a couple battle royales as Karl did not even use a controller. He's that good. Or a mouse.
Oh, trackpads.
Alright, so thank you everyone for tuning in, and have a star-powered night.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
And watch our Twitch streams.
I really hope they're listening to this at 8 in the morning. We're like, have a good night now. It's like, yeah, you're right. You know what? I don't need this job. I'm going back to bed. And we are done recording. That was delightful.
That was.
I still want to know what no copyright Mario Kart music is, because it says it's copyright free and I believe in it. But also, why and how?
That is a good question.